Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Kitty Hawk Town Council meeting to order. It's Monday, April 3rd, 2023. We're in the Kitty Hawk Town Hall, 6 o'clock p.m. Looks like we got a big crowd tonight. Thank you for those who join us in person and those who are watching online. If you would join us in a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Before we approve tonight's agenda, we need to amend the agenda. We've got a Miss Stephanie Baker on the way from Hotline. And council will be somewhere in the presentations when she gets here. So can I get a motion to approve the amended agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Lynn. Second?
Second.
Second, Charlotte. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Presentations. Miss Melody,
Yes,
we have a new employee.
we do. It's my pleasure to introduce Laura Walker, who's back in the back there. She is our new Administrative Services Director. She started on March 29th, so she's been here 4 days, and she keeps coming back, so that's good. She most recently worked at Saga Construction and Engineering as their HR Director and Talent Acquisition Manager. She's lived in Southern Shore since 2017, and she had 10 years of international HR with Alcoa, which I knew growing up as Reynolds Metal. And she also started her career with Walt Disney, which Disney has a great reputation for customer service and recruitment. She's a graduate of the University of Central Florida with a BA in Communications and has a Master's in Human Resources from Rollins College. She's also certified by the Human Resources Certification Institute as a global and senior professional of human resources and is a senior certified professional. And those are, being in the human resources world, that is what you want people to have. In her free time, Laura enjoys time with her furry family, which we knew she would fit in with Kitty Hawk. She has two golden retrievers, Lexi and Brandy, and then a rescue kitty named Phoebe. And she's going to be, of course, handling human resources, employee benefits, risk management, as serving as the town's PIO. So, welcome, Laura. She's already.
Welcome, Laura. We are certainly glad to have you, my friend.
Thank you.
Welcome, welcome. Next, Police Detective Jeff Guard, 25 years of service. Lieutenant Helms, would you come up, please?
Good evening. So, of course, celebrating Sergeant Detective Guard, 25 years of service for the town. Sergeant Guard has been with the town for over 25 years. He started his career in '98 and became a detective in 2011 and is currently leading the Criminal Investigation Division. Sergeant Guard brings a wealth of knowledge and experience that is almost impossible to come by in law enforcement these days. He has been a mentor and shared his experience and knowledge with everyone in the department, which makes us a better department overall. I would be up here for hours speaking about the things he has done for the department and town over 25 years and the cases he has solved. I'd rather spend the time speaking about what kind of leader and man he is. As you can see, he believes in loyalty, dedication, and empowering other people. Sergeant Guard might not be the one for the spotlight or take credit for anything. Sergeant Guard these days has been a huge help for the administrative staff in assisting in making the department premier. Sergeant Guard also has completed the FBI LEADA, Law Enforcement Executive Development Association classes, which are supervisory leadership, command level leadership, and executive leadership. All these classes are 40 hours or more each week. He brought back new leadership styles and ideas to keep up with how law enforcement is changing. I thank you. And we got it.
Mm-hmm.
So class. Worth 25 years of service with the town and the FBI LEADA plaque and completing 3 weeks of the courses.
Jeff, do you have another 25 under your belt? I don't blame you.
Just a couple more. Kitty Hawk's always been good to me, so I appreciate it, and I've enjoyed my time so far. I got a couple more years left, and then I'll be leaving y'all.
Oh, never.
Thank you, Jeff, very much.
Thank you.
That's good stuff there. Thank you. Thank you. Lynn Shea is not shown up yet, correct?
Correct.
Okay, okay. Deals Architects. Melody, do you want to start us off?
Well, I would like to introduce Annie Campbell and Clay Gills from Gills Architects. Come on up, and I think they're gonna just talk to you about, you received an updated design schematic, and they broke it down into 3 phases as you requested. And you also saw an updated pricing option for the 3 different phases. You have this in your packet, and I guess they'll give an overview of this and answer your questions.
Council, I met them before the meeting, and I told them we wanted the most for the least amount of money, and they kind of expected that, I think.
He also said that if it got hairy in here, that the door was over there.
Thank you all for being here tonight.
Sure.
Thanks for having us. So I guess we'll just go through our plan, as you see on the screen, kind of broken out into 3 different phases, how we got to this point, and then we can talk through our estimated construction also. Okay, I can point if you want to talk through the 3 phases.
Sure. So, you know, we went through 3-4 rounds of early programming. Thank you. Congratulations. By the way, Laura, your resume looks better than all of ours. Let's try and increase that name up a little bit. Of programming, of trying to get our arms around what they need here, right? What does the department need? What do they need to function right? How do we do it the right way? How do we do it within an existing building? Make all that work and be cost effective and efficient about how to do that. So, you know, those first rounds look and feel a lot like wish lists. Like, here's everything we would love to have, love to do, all those things. That's been refined over several iterations. Lots of meetings, lots of times with the department and everyone involved. Thanks to Melanie who helped orchestrate that. And then, you know, we took a harder look at that now that we're getting serious about we're going to build something and how are we going to really do this and about what those costs look like. So the plan that you see in front of you right now is another iteration of those where we are able to identify these are essentially what we need. This is what we think the department has to have. These are the primary elements of an essential facility to make this happen. And so we narrowed that down. That's roughly 12,000 square feet, including the existing building that we're reusing and renovating. The costs associated with that you have in the package too, those are, you know, at this point, these are conservative numbers, right? So we would think that at some point we're going to get the message of, hey, we have X to spend. We're going to work to that budget, right? So a part of a lot of what we do in our whole design team, right, which includes architecture, interiors, civil engineer, surveying, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection, the special systems, all those things that go into a police department building. Part of our job is to make sure that we're on budget and we stay to a schedule, right, and that we do those things efficiently. So what you see on that plan there is us whittling that program down to where the bare essentials are, and then trying to get to some general conservative early construction numbers. We did use Jacob Osmondson and his company, who are from North Carolina. He used to live here in the Outer Banks, has a really good feel for local contracting, subcontractors. But again, these are conservative numbers at this point, right? So we're rounding up at this point. There's 10% of contingency in there. Right, so if you look at phase one, that's $4.88 million. You know, almost $500,000 of that is contingency in there. Those numbers are inclusive of furniture and equipment, special systems in there, which can be a big itemized number for a police force, police department. Right? There are systems that come along with it. Part of this too is that we were conservative early on because we want to make sure that if we're going to spend the money, we're going to do a project, we're going to go through this process to get this done, which is greatly needed. We have to make sure we're regulatory compliant. We meet what agencies need, those departments need to have, and that we provide the systems and the backup to let them perform their best work. So,
Yeah.
anything I'm forgetting?
No, I don't think so. I think just you'll see on your drawing and right here on the screen that phase one is inclusive of the bulk of the space, everything that's kind of that brighter colored sand, and inclusive of all of the existing building. Phase two would be the lighter green, which is like the animal control and some of the bunking and holding space. And then phase three is the firing range and some mechanical and storage that would go along with that space.
And you know, phase one is a combination of small new additions, and a majority of it is renovation. So
You will see kind of behind phase one on the left that there is some gray overlay, I guess, or underlay on the plan, which is the existing plan. So we did try to reuse some space wherever we could.
yeah, part of what we went back and re-examined, and the thought is that, hey, we've bought a building here. Let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? Let's not demolish everything out. We've got the full interior. Let's take a harder look where we can save walls, save systems, right? Reuse a wall for an office where we already own one.
Which
right?
I think we'll continue to do during design.
Yeah.
This isn't the last time that exercise happens.
Yeah, so as we dig deeper into the design and you overlay, I need 5 offices into a space that already has 4, right? How can we better utilize that space? This plan is starting to get at that a lot better and a lot more efficient for sort of overall costs. If you look far on the right of that plan, that represents the major addition onto the building.
This would be kind of that delineating
Yeah,
wall.
that's that firewall that's out there now. Everything to the right of that is a new entrance, new meeting space, a new admin space, some back of house there. And then the rest of it is essentially in the renovated area.
Are there questions on the plan before we pull up the numbers?
So the renovating and building addition are basically the same dollar-wise, exactly the same, even though the square footage is different.
So,
It's 1.9.
here? Yeah. And
This one?
yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Talking total dollars for renovated versus new
And the
construction.
building
Correct.
addition includes site work too.
Right.
So that would be the difference as well.
Smaller new addition, but it certainly costs more to build new than it is to reuse an existing building. So
The inclusion of
those,
the site work too.
right.
May I ask a question on that? So if you're adding the additional square footage, what site work do you really have to do with an open parking lot there? I mean, I know there's some site work, but you say there's some dollar amount for site work. What is that dollar amount?
Well, I think it's looking at the site and the space where we're going to be building, as well as the utilities and anything to do with the existing generator that's there, tying into that space, as opposed to, right now, it's a building with a couple different tenant areas, so we have to kind of parcel out the tenant spaces too, for what would stay versus our space that'll be a separate tenant for some of those utilities. So it's kind of looking at tying all that into the new addition as well.
We are adding a sally port right here, so there's a little drive aisle, there's some associated parking that comes with that, there's some back of house paving, grading, and all that has to happen. If you're looking for a number of that new construction, it's 15 to 20% of that number is in the site.
And if it's not used, what happens to that? It comes back? If the 15 or 20% is not utilized as a number,
Yeah, just to back up a second, we're planning that this is going to be a low bid project right now. So, which means we're not partnered up with a contractor right? We're gonna, if you say you don't need the site work, we're gonna take it out of the project and it never shows up on bid day.
Okay.
Right?
Thank you.
So if you don't need it, you just tell us you don't need it and we take it out of the project and it goes to bid and no one knows the project is decreased, no one knows about it, right?
Right, I'm not saying there's not going to be some site work. I was just curious how you guys came up with.
Yeah, so if we don't need it, that 20% is right out of that number. And again, these are conservative right now, so if
There's
we're.
always some assumptions with site work, I think, going into it too.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah.
What kind of questions you got, Dave?
I'd just soon come back with all mine, if you don't mind. I've got quite a few.
Lynn?
I have no specific questions right now.
Jeff?
No, I'm good.
You guys are getting ready to start
I'm ready to
discussing
hear.
the numbers, right, next?
Absolutely.
Right, okay, so I'm just going to wait till,
All right. You all right right now? You just want to wait? Okay.
Early.
Sure.
Okay, so we have up here, you'll see, based on the phasing that was in the plan is how the numbers are broken out here for phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. Like we said, phase 1 is the renovated space. There's a line item for that, as well as the building addition and the special systems. You'll see special systems in both phase 1 and 2. We just separated those costs out. Phase 2 is the building addition, which would be in the back that you had seen with the animal hoteling and the bunking area. And then phase 3 was the firing range. We've always kind of carried the firing range as its own separate phase, so we kept it that way, and that's the reason there's a difference in phase 2 and phase 3. That number is not, you know, a low number by any means when you're building something like that, so we wanted you to see it as its own entity.
Sure, just some of the notes at the bottom are interesting. So a lot of this is derived from OA CCI, who does work around here and all over the state of Virginia and aggregates this number. Like they look at current bids, current things that are happening in the market. I will say this was done end of March. This is a downward trend. We're on the way here talking to people about costs. Construction is in a downward trend right now in terms of construction costs. You probably realized from other projects a year and a half ago, it was, anything but that, right? It was in a constant incline. So we think we're in a good trend for this right now, especially on an overall project schedule. So we're, if we can program it, get some bid documents together, we may be able to seize an opportunity where we have lower construction costs on bid day.
Any questions, anybody? What's the possibility, on one lens, a matter of fact, if we continue with, if we go through with this project, any labor, any workforce, can we try to get local people to do that, give some local people some jobs?
Absolutely. Yeah, we can build that into the documents that go out for bid.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a percentage, or you can even identify subcontractors. If you're going to do this as a competitive low bid, there just needs to be some competition for them.
Correct.
But I think the most successful ones we've done before, and we've done several of those on a percentage basis where local workforce has to be used that way. As long as the workforce is present, and I know you have it, I'm sure you can get there.
Okay.
Yeah, we think we're not, the assumption about this being low bid means that it keeps you guys in control of this process. We thought that was wholly important for what we're doing here, right? So we're not teamed up with a contractor, we're a design team that's gonna build those documents for you, which means if you want it in there or you wanna add something or take it away, whatever you wanna see on bid day, we'll ensure that it's there, including that labor force, right? Including what those outcomes are from how it impacts the local community.
Okay, council? Dave?
Ready?
Yeah.
All right. So I want to back into your numbers a little bit, okay? You have $163,928 for your design documents,
Yep.
correct? That's roughly about $13.50 a square foot.
Okay.
Your PME design services are $89,350. Generally speaking, I have found those numbers to be generally a lot less, speaking to other architects. So I guess I'm trying to understand, you have, well, let me back up for 1 second, I'm sorry. The original plan that you guys have done to date, the rendering that you were showing tonight, what did we pay for that?
That schematic design process was a little less than
A little
$50,000.
less than 50,000. So do we own that now and we have the right to it, or is that,
Yeah, you
It's
own it.
ours,
Yeah,
yes.
you own it.
all right?
Do we have it in electronic format, CAD format?
It's not in, we don't
We
have
have
CAD,
PDF.
but we have a PDF.
We have it drawn in
Revit.
Revit, which is a CAD type of software, and you can certainly have that.
And it can be saved.
It's yours.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And tell me a little bit about your cost estimates. Like, do you feel like that's an important part of because I have kind of found they're not quite as useful in our environment here. Maybe up in Hampton Roads is a lot different.
You're talking about construction costs?
Your cost estimators that you use and things to that effect.
So Jacob Osmondson, he's been a long-term guy for us. Lived down here, estimates a lot of jobs on the Outer Banks or close by, Currituck, around here, Manio. So we put a lot of faith in him, actually. There hasn't been a lot of police, public safety buildings built here locally. So you see some of these are out a little ways.
Sure.
And we had, I don't know, 10 conversations where I grilled him about where you're pulling these numbers from, and do you really think we're going to pay that? You see these numbers are much higher.
Right.
Again, these are conservative, right? So we're really early on in here. There are things, to use your words, you can pull these things out, and these numbers all fall.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
I put pretty good faith in him. This is a guy who, when he does these, he gives it right back to me.
And he's over the weekend sending us studies and reports and,
Yeah.
updates on numbers.
He left me a voicemail over the weekend. The guy who I got it's almost 20% cheaper right now for some of his bids. I just heard that from him on Saturday. Right, so he's working on Saturday and trying to update us with costs because he knows we're going to expand here and,
so if
take
I'm,
some questions.
sure. So if I look at your design documents that we're discussing now, and then I drop down to your PME design services, they're kind of in correlation together, correct? I mean, you're looking at schematics of plans and your mechanical, your plumbing, your rough, whatever it is, right? So help me understand, if you don't mind, is the fee $89,350 for the architectural support as well as the plumbing, mechanical, and electrical and the fire protection design?
Yes.
So, but up top, you have $163,928 for other parts of the plan, right? So really, we're looking at combining those two numbers for the rendering to be complete.
The top is the architectural services.
Right.
And then you go into cost estimating broken out by discipline and structural, PM&E, civil. So the bottom, the AE design services, the 351 would be the total.
Right. So that's where I was getting at. I'm adding these numbers up.
Yep.
So, Rob, do we need a stormwater permit for this job?
I have checked into it. Don't think so, not me.
Okay. I'm sorry to jump around on you, but so I'm going to go over here to the other page where you have the following items are not included in this proposal. All right, when I look through those, I see some things that are obviously of importance, and But, you know, when we purchased this building, you know, we did a lot of heavy inspections on it. Which, have you guys seen those reports
Yeah,
from the commercial inspections from while we were under contract?
yeah, forward some of those.
Okay. So do you
Was there
feel
a
like,
specific item in those that you
well,
wanted?
do you feel like some of it's, you know, I feel like a lot of it's being treated like it's a brand-new building, not an existing building to a certain extent. And if I'm wrong on that, help me understand where I'm.
So I'll tell you, when we went through the sort of wish list programming, right, that had us to a much larger building footprint on there, there was a lot more. I don't know if you saw those early studies or what we produced before this current plan. Much larger additions happening to this building. And that's why earlier I was saying we took a really hard look at like, hey, there's an existing building we own here. We need to go back and make sure that we're using it in every way possible, right? If there's a way to save money in a project like this, it's reduce the new additions and reduce the renovated area, right? Those are top of your list every single time. And that's why we're here talking about, you know, $4+ million project and not a $7+ million project.
Right.
So, because we're avoiding that. We're actually trying to make sure that the department gets what they need, and we use that building to the best that we can possibly do it.
Well, it also helps.
It doesn't have a Sally port on it, right? So we're in some positions like that where we have to provide something.
Well, it also helps bring the number down too when we're going to phase it out. It's not like the number goes away. It's just not being done today.
That's right.
Right. So,
But it's things that you
But
can.
the design would be of all phases,
Right.
to your point.
Yeah, the design right now is of all of it.
Right.
right.
The full, you know, because you can do the full design, which I think there's benefit in doing that when you're sitting there and designing things with a team instead of waiting, and then you can just phase out the construction.
Right. Let's see here. You had mentioned earlier about being a percentage of site work. But then down here under civil design services, you have another $30,150, right? So is there, what am I missing there? Because at the 1.9 million, I think you said it was 20% is usually earmarked for like site work or grading or anything, right?
In construction.
Correct.
Construction, the civil 30,000 is for design. So they would still have to do every design submittal that we're doing. They would be part of each submittal that we're providing you guys. So it would be their design, their drawings for all of those.
Now, we have been making an assumption that they need to get a stormwater permit. So, and that may affect his fee.
And well, and that's not a big thing to get. I mean, it's.
Yeah, but he has
it's-
to go through a site plan approval process.
I understand, sure.
So we're, you know, this gets you everything that you need to do that. You're like permit ready, right? I can bid it, I can pull every permit. That's the intent of this.
We are working with John DeLucia on the civil, because he's local. We were working with him through schematics as well, so these are his numbers you're seeing.
Okay. Jumping back over here to the last page again, I'm sorry, where you have the, you know, just the additional, I guess it's 18 items that could come up that are not being considered in this dollar amount.
Like not included in this proposal.
Right. Generally speaking, if we're going to, you know, use other areas to assume pricing here, generally speaking, how much of this may come into play here? And if it does, how is that billed?
I honestly don't think, the only thing on here that you will be required to do, and most owners do it, we don't provide it, we'll give you like how much it costs, is the number one
Special inspection.
special inspections on there. You are required to do special inspections. You know, this is like, look at the footing, make sure the
Sure.
rebar is right, look at the steel, make sure your hurricane clips are on where they should be, right? That's the only one, but most owners carry that cost. That's why we made it number one.
Well, that's general inspections here anyway. That's on everything, no matter what, based on our wind code.
Well, so this is structural special inspections, Agent 1 and Agent 2 is what we're talking about here, so.
Right.
Agent 1's look at the steel, look at the footings, look at the rebar ties. Agent 2 is materials testing, right? Does your concrete meet its load, right? All those things.
Okay.
I think other than that, I don't think, they're on here because we don't think you're gonna need them. We made that number one because most owners carry that. We can certainly help put together what that cost is.
Yeah, and the only other one I think, and this is usually because it comes through as a subcontractor for contractor, would be access control. I'm speaking to some of that. You know, we are showing that as pricing, but I think usually that's a sub of a contractor.
Yeah.
So it's just not something that we normally would need to do as much of design, but it's more of a program.
Any access control systems you want on doorways, which is generally a owner provided thing. I mean,
Right.
we're happy to do it. For us, in design, it's tell them there's a pathway and a cable and show them where the door is, right? Device to put on it. We actually didn't think you needed to pay us to do that. You probably know how to do it. Don't have to spend the money on it.
So with us, basically the fee is still at $472,513 to design everything in full, whether we phase it out this year, next year, 5 years, however we do it. You're going to have everything quote unquote pad ready for this fee and ready to go.
So 472 includes that whole design team working through construction as well. And I will say, that's $120,000. You know, we want to stay involved in construction because we'll be there to answer RFIs, questions from the contractor, review submittals and all those. It is not design, right? And so that assumes that we are all working on that through construction. And when I say we all disciplines. So the civil engineer is still there, structural, T&E, all the full design team. And often you'll see that we work with folks that are like, let's do that on call. Let's do that on an hourly basis, right? This is an estimate of what we think it would be if we were all working during construction, right? So you're actually at the 351 number, not the 472 number. 351, 813, that is bid ready, permit ready.
All phases.
You can hire a contractor and award it and go.
So 351. Which, if we're looking at that number, then our total cost or investment in this is technically 401,513 with the first drawing that we've already done,
Sure,
right?
the 50, yeah.
So it's $351,813 plus the $50,000 we've already spent. Okay. I'll stand down for a second. I'm going to keep reviewing if somebody else would like to talk.
Lynn?
I'm looking to somebody else while I'm looking at something else.
Yeah.
I'm good right now.
All right. Charles?
These numbers are they're conservative here too? Did you have something padded in there? These
On the
figures on the, page 6? All of those numbers? Is there leeway
The
in
design
those?
services, yeah.
Yeah.
There,
design
you know, we
services.
do it based on the hours we think we're going to spend.
Okay,
Um,
so they're pretty,
Yeah, there were-
what is going to be?
Yeah, and again, you know, this is this anticipates bidding this project, right? So we go into these as partnerships. Part of our service and the value that we add is that on bid day, people are going to bid a set of documents from every discipline in the set that gets you what you think you're going to get. If that's kind of simply put, but that means that we coordinate our drawings, we go through a QC process.
Several submittals.
Yeah, that means we minimize change orders, right? A bid project should minimize change orders. It should get you where you need to be in the most competitive way possible, right? So that's what we're anticipating with this. It does take a few more hours from every discipline in our design team to be able to do that. Like if we just hired a contractor, construction manager for this job, they would likely come in and say, I can minimize the design costs, right? That doesn't mean they're minimizing anything else anywhere else, right? It doesn't mean you're getting the most competitive bid, right? Across all the disciplines, it doesn't mean the price is being driven down. What we're trying to do is create a set of drawings that does that for you, right? So you're, you know, from a pricing standpoint, bid day competition is your best friend, right? It's only your best friend if the documents they're bidding on are well put together and get you what you want.
And we have 3 submittals in this. You'll see that there's a 35% of pre-final and a final. We found that those stages of submittals for design are good times for you all to see the design, to give us feedback, questions, comments, mark up the plan. You know, this is after our QC. We're submitting a full set to you 3 different times so that you're involved in the process along the way. Not to say you won't be at other times, but just it gives you a definitive time to sit and look at the drawings and provide us some feedback so that you're not surprised by anything at the end. And we are, you know, making sure you're involved in the design throughout the process and there's not questions that come up that do cause extra work on anyone at the very end before bidding.
Yeah, so, you know, part of that is what she's describing is communication of what you're going to get on bid day. So we create a booklet that says this office space gets this ceiling, this electrical, this data, this, like everything in the building is sort of explained out in a book that matches the design drawings that are being made. That's not just for our benefit, it's so the guys in the police department, it's so everyone at the city can look and see what's coming and make comment on that. It's critical that that happens actually, right? Otherwise someone's gonna be surprised that we didn't put this type of shelving in the evidence room, right? Like they need to be able to operate on day one. So part of those submittals and part of the time that we spend is to make sure that that's well coordinated and communicated so that when at 35%, 65, 90, and 100, when we sit down with the department, we can all sit there and have that discussion and say, well, what's in that room? Where is the equipment? How is it ventilated? How do we operate this space? And if there's a problem with our drawings, we can mark it up right then and we can do something about it.
Are you able to project how long this project should take in the first phase?
What are we calling it? 12
We
months?
had thought about 12 months, but if we're phasing it out, you know, you could probably speak better, but I think, do you think 9 months maybe in the first phase?
I mean, you might be able to sneak it under a year. Nowadays, I'm like,
9 to 12?
I still have, you know, a little PTSD from the last 12 months of cost estimating and scheduling where whole markets went kilter, right?
Building and COVID?
Yeah, during COVID and all that. So, but I would say 12 months, maybe a little bit less, but I would try to stick with a year for now, just based on, right, oil prices going up and people telling us piping's not available or something that we've
Lead
experienced.
times, yeah.
Well, based on my experiences in this business, if you think it's 12, you need to add 5. So,
There we have it. It's, yeah.
Lead times are still a problem, right?
it can
Like
be.
mechanical equipment and electrical switch gear and panels right now is like, it evaporates on projects for some reason, yeah. We're not really
83-week
sure.
lead times and crazy numbers being thrown out there. So.
Have we done ourselves a disservice by trying to renovate something that's existing? Have we caused our design issues to be more expensive than if you were just building the building? I know it costs more to just build the building, but
From a design fee standpoint, it costs less.
okay,
Yeah, you're saving money.
okay.
So, you know,
That was our goal.
you know, we asked that question early on. You know, at first, you know, we're in the office and kind of like, oh wow, there's an existing building and it's big. And there's firewalls and there's going to be tenants in it and wow, we got to get our heads around this a little bit. But by buying that building, you're saving money on our side, design, across the board, and you're saving construction costs, no doubt.
Okay,
Yeah. It's
good to hear.
substantial.
Thank you.
That's what we wanted to hear.
That's what I wanted.
And you'll see the cost per square foot for renovation versus addition is a substantial difference, $200 a square foot difference.
Yeah, I realize that, and I just, it seems like you were trying to work around something that was just causing issues, so.
I mean, there is
I'm
some of
glad.
that. That doesn't increase our fee. I mean, we have to design something. We have to get the program where it needs to be and make it work. I think early on, we could have done a better job of identifying how to reuse, just to be totally transparent. And that's why when we went back to the table, we took a really hard look at it in the office and said, like, you know what, there's money to be saved in here, right? And again, this is where we make our living, right? Is like, you say we need to save money, and we go make it happen. Like, we need to be able to do that, and that's one of the best ways to do it, right? Renovation, anyone here who's a builder or contractor knows, like a renovation project, if you can contain it, the renovation, or reuse what you have, it's money in the bank. Right, so I think we're on a good path for that right now.
More questions, Council?
I've got a couple more. So getting into the design of the building, when you guys come in and you do your measuring to come up with the drawing that you had up on the screen, you're not really designing a lot of that, right? It's already there. You measure it, and you put it up in a CAD file or whatever software you're using, and you start drawing off of that, right? So I guess that's just I'm just going to be transparent as well. I'm having a hard time with the $163,000 on the drawings. And I'm trying to ask questions diligently so you can help me where if I'm off, I'm off. I have no problem understanding that if I'm not right, I'm not right.
Sure.
But to me, that's a big number for a building that's pre-existing. I know you have to make changes. I know you have things you got to do. But then if I drop back down to the PME design services, you're basically at $7.37 a square foot at $89,350. So when I try to, in my mind, put all this together, the only way I can do is just simply add it all up as one number, right? Because it gets you from the start of the job to the finish, right? And when I'm looking at those numbers, I'm just having a hard time with it. I really am.
You want to know where the hour's being spent. I mean,
I'd like to know where the hour, if we're going to go ask that question, I'd like to know how many hours you guys had in designing this right here.
It's a bunch.
A lot.
It's a lot.
100, 200?
Easily, because you're talking like 4 people in the room.
Right.
Right, so it adds up really quick.
Sure.
And those people in the room, that doesn't include the draftsman.
Right.
Doesn't include the person who's inputting it all in the computer.
Mm-hmm.
Right, all those things.
Sure.
So those aren't even present in those hours.
Right.
Part of what you're paying for and what I was getting at earlier in a low bid project, which 100% is your best way to drive costs down on this, is that you're paying us to keep the drawings in order, right? So everyone's got to draw, structural's got to put footings in the ground, they need to draw reinforcing in the existing building, they need to, right? We have to coordinate that with all the other disciplines so that, on bid day, when the contractor sends in the first change order and he says it's for $100,000 because you have steel in the way of all the ductwork, we've already identified that in the drawings, and that problem does not exist. Right, so part of why the architectural fee is larger is because we watch the budget, the schedule, and the quality. Right, those are big areas of value that we have to bring to it, and it takes time to do it.
And I think, part of that too is managing, kind of to what you said, we're managing the entire design team throughout the process. You're not going to have every single person reaching out to you constantly, which would be a lot, to talk through the design, to ask questions. They come to us, we coordinate that, and I'm your single point of contact. So the management of design disciplines is a lot of work through a project, and it's something we don't necessarily want to ever bombard the client with.
Yeah, but it represents a large savings, right? So, I mean, again, the idea is that make that bid set a dot, drawings that's protective of your interests, right? So that on bid day, you can drive prices down.
And when we sit and start a fee, and I'm looking here because this is what I do, is I put together a spreadsheet and it's every single page that we think will happen in a drawing. And it's that for each design submittal and the hours we think it'll take at every submittal interval for every single page. So we're doing it page by page. We're not guessing on hours. We're not assuming anything. It's truly looking at every page. Wall types, roof plan, I'm just reading off building sections. I mean, that's how we kind of start our budget.
Right. I'll say the structural engineering fee is fairly in line for the market here for sure. But
They're a great partner.
Yeah. They generally have the least amount of drawings in the set.
And I will say that
with the most liability.
to be transparent, we went out to a couple different PM&E teams. We thoroughly vetted the PM&E number with several different teams that we have good faith in and we use on lots of projects, and this was the lower number by a substantial amount. But we did our due diligence on the PM&E number, so you're not just seeing one person and we asked for a number for one time and that was it.
Right.
We went through several discussions on that.
Yeah, so we're not only headed towards bid drawings for construction, we rounded up fees from all these disciplines to try to get a low number on these guys. Like the civil number is like really low from what we see. We're going to use that guy again.
PM&E is inclusive of fire protection too. A lot of times we have fire protection separate. Our particular PACE engineering who we're looking at for PM&E is able to do that in-house, which is great. Not everyone does.
Who did you reach out to for that?
PACE engineering.
For the fire?
They're doing PM&E and fire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It includes special systems too. So they're not, it's not just mechanical, electrical, plumbing. They're, the fire protection is in there, special systems for alarms and all the low voltage stuff, all that's included in that number.
It also includes the firing range design, which isn't a small feat, I would say.
Yeah.
That's just inclusive in the number.
Yeah, so keep in mind that design fee, that $351.83 on there includes all the phases.
So hypothetically speaking, if we got hurricane season coming up, we know the roof needs to be replaced. If the town goes ahead and moves forward with replacing the roof, that's no longer in this bid, right? Like a roof plan?
Right.
Say one more time.
The roof, if they replace the roof, he's saying would the roof plan still be in the construction documents?
Well,
I think you still have to.
You still have to draw it in, I guess, but
Yeah, we're required to draw it.
Right.
And we're required to draw it for the new work.
I just answered my own question, so.
How the new work ties in, that would be something. If you're gonna do that, let us know so we can start tying it in right now.
Right.
Design around it.
Appreciate you answering my questions.
Sure.
We know that you did demo already in a portion of the space, so you'll see that, some of that space, I don't know if it's necessarily reflected on the portion that has demo, but it's on the right side of the space, correct? Closer to the new addition.
I think it's
So
accurate.
we are aware of that.
Council, anything else? Thank you all for coming tonight. I know we've got a lot of questions. David is a contractor, in case you're wondering. I guess you figured that out. Very good contractor. So we've got some decisions to make. We bought this building for a reason. We knew we'd save money by doing it. I'm glad you answered Charlotte's question earlier that it was a good idea. We did save money. We've got some big decisions to make. We need to talk to our time manager, reference budget. We need to have conversations with our finance officer to see where we are. We want something that's going to be great, beneficial, something that our police department and our town can be proud of, but we're not going to break our time doing it. That's where we all are here. So, anything else, council?
Not for now. I appreciate you guys coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Great work already. So thank you.
Yeah, so, I know Melanie, she's tired of us asking like for a budget, right? So just know, part of our job is to like meet a budget, to get it done on a budget and on a schedule. I tell everyone in the office too much probably, that's one of the things that's your job. It's not pie in the sky. If someone has a budget, our job is to make it happen, right? When the bids come in on bid day, they need to be there. So just know that that's included in this. That's what we're after here.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
And council, council, I met with Melody this morning. She wanted to stress if we did anything that involved the budget, she needs to know as soon as possible because we're in the middle of that process, as you know. Okay, I think I saw Miss Stephanie Baker come in with hotline.
Yes. Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Yes.
Very much, but I just have those two things. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Town Council. Yeah, my name is Stephanie Baker, and I am the Associate Director for Outer Banks Hotline. I came into the position in October, and I've been a resident of Southern Shores since 2007. I am a single mom. I'm widowed, raising 2 teenage boys. I'm a sexual assault survivor. I have a brother who abused me when I was 8, and I was date raped when I was in college by a baseball player. I never reported the baseball player, and my parents didn't know about my brother until I was in my 40s, and I'm 52. The nationwide statistics show that every 68 seconds, somebody's sexually assaulted, and every 9 minutes, that person is a child. 1 in 6 women have either been raped or there's been an attempted rape. Every 1 out of 10 men has either faced an attempted rape or has been raped. Lots of statistics that I could share with you, but people who are sexually assaulted go on to have terrible things that occur, more likely to use drugs, problems with significant others, problems at work, emotional issues, a host of issues. It's a difficult thing. And so when I was hired in October, the first week I was there, so Hotline's been around since 1980. And never before has there been a campaign surrounding what we do. And what we do is we're an interpersonal crisis prevention center, we're prevention and intervention. And so what we do is we work with victims of sexual assault, domestic violence, and human trafficking. We went from just a crisis line to having 8-bedroom safe house for emergency shelter. And that's not just 8 bedrooms. We can host more people. We can host families. We have room for children, and then there's a transitional apartment on the top. We also operate 3 thrift stores, and people say, "Oh, you're with Hotline. Which thrift store do you work at?" So work for the office. And I was hired to do development and outreach. And so my first week in October, which is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, we were all excited to carry this ribbon on the ridge, ribbon on the ridge. So we have this like 50-yard ribbon, and it's about 3.5 feet wide. And we were going to carry it to the top of Jockey's Ridge and do a ceremony. At that time, in October this past year, 66 North Carolinians had lost their life to domestic violence. So it was staff and some volunteers from the thrift stores and some police from several different departments, but altogether maybe 18 people, maybe. We carried the ribbon up, we did our little ceremony, we read the names, we had a moment of silence, and we walked down. And I thought to myself, wow, this was nice, but it did nothing to promote the awareness and what we were trying to do. So January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month, and April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And sexual assault, as I just told you, can happen to anybody. And raising boys, and having friends who have, daughters, it's just an issue that everybody needs to know about. And because of our area, April starts prom season, graduation season. These kids are, you know, going out to the parties. We have all the tourists coming who, you know, they're not immune. So they, you know, go to a bar, they're at a party, something happens, and Hotline does take care of tourists as well, by the way. You don't have to be a resident. So anyway, with all these things, I thought this is really the great time to do this ribbon. And we were gonna do it just as a fundraiser on that one day. And then I thought about it, and then I said, no, it's gotta be a campaign. So I developed Community for Hope, and it's a month-long campaign. And it's 3 components. The first is awareness, awareness, awareness. I built different packages that directly spoke to the different entities like schools, churches and clubs, organizations, government agencies, and businesses. And then restaurants are a separate part of the businesses. The different packages, and in that there's awareness activities that people can do that are no cost. Wearing blue ribbons, decorating, or not blue, excuse me, teal is the color for sexual assault awareness. So teal ribbons, a wall of hope with messages to sexual assault victims or notes. Decorating again with wearing teal on Tuesdays, different things like that. I created a pledge. I went to the schools. I made banners, and I just delivered one, actually 2 today, because since this is an inaugural campaign, I just kind of focused on the secondary schools, who were immediately, the first person I went to was Steve Basnate and Steve Blackstock, and they were the first to hop on board this. So I've spoke to the different principals, and I have a huge 72-inch banner, and it's got this pledge on it, and everybody is going to be encouraged to sign that pledge banner. And it's going to be in the foyers of all the schools. So awareness, awareness, awareness. The second part, and nobody has to do any of them, but the second part was 100 for Hope. And this originally was going to be that Jockey Bridge event, just trying to get 100 people to come out and support. But then I thought, no, we want 100 teams, and a team can be one person. It could be Twitty, however many people are employed at Twitty. All I want each team to do is raise $100. From Corolla down to Hatteras, $100 per team, and that's $10,000 that will go to help support programs, but it will also be 100 more people, at the very least, to think about sexual assault and to spread that awareness. So that's number 2. Number 3 is then having the Community for Hope Ribbon on the Ridge event, 100 for Hope Ribbon on the Ridge event on the last Saturday in April. And instead of a fundraiser, and instead of asking people for money on that day, we're going to commemorate the survivors. We're going to line up in the parking lot. We're going to stand 2 by 2, carry it right up Jockey's Ridge in a straight line, make the formation. We're going to give that presentation. We're going to have the moment of silence. We're going to come back, and we're going to have barbecue and music, and we're going to celebrate the survivors. And so this is our campaign for April. It's an inaugural campaign, and I was just hoping to spread the awareness to you. We're encouraging teams, whether it's personal or church, whatever, family. And I would like to say, too, to tag on, and I'll speak specifically to the male leadership in this room, it's not enough just to have it be 1 month, you know, we need to carry it on. And I felt as though women, we like to talk, and we like to commiserate, and we like to, you know, but we need the men to say sexual assault is wrong, interpersonal violence is wrong. We want to build healthy relationships. So I'll come back to you in May because I've created Outer Banks Men for Safe Relationships. And it's going to be a 1-month campaign. It's going to go from Mother's Day to Father's Day. And I'm looking for male leaders to come, and we're going to have a kickoff at our offices, meet the staff, see what we do, see the facilities, learn. I'm going to ask for $126 from each of you. And the reason for that number is because the average lifetime cost for a female for sexual assault or domestic violence is $103,000. And that's medical bills, that's loss of work, that's childcare, that's having to move, it's all these different things. And the average cost for a male, for some reason, is $23,000. So I added the 103 and the 23, and 126. So when we have the leaders come, then they're going to be instructed to find 5 other male individual people to share this information with. And again, we're just building awareness, and hopefully it'll create change, positive change. And that's my story. So thank you for your time. Do you have a question?
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Becker, very much.
Thank you very much. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
And I'll go ahead and say it, sexual assault is wrong.
Thank you. Thank you.
100%.
Interpersonal violence of any type, we just want to make things better for men and women. Again, 1 in 10 men, it's a big number. So thank you again for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, public comment. Lynn, is there anyone signed up for public comment?
Yes, Sandra Stanley.
Okay, come up, please. And if you would, ma'am, speak directly into the microphone.
Okay.
Try to limit it to 3 minutes, please.
So after 2 very serious discussions and presentation, mine may seem very flippant, perhaps. This concerns something I just found out about the end of this past week, that there is something possibly in the air about our little dog and skate park back here. That there may be an addition, and I did speak with, yes. And apparently this was discussed in more depth last meeting. I just wanted to put in the input from the locals who literally, I personally every day go to the dog park in the morning. There are people there from the Kitty Hawk, and they come up from KDH, Duck, Martins Point, Southern Shores. They like our little park. And we're a little concerned that it may either shrink or additional entertainment put in. That it's very peaceful back there. I don't know how many of you have ever been back there. It's very peaceful. And of course there's the gardens, which the people love because it's just tucked in the woods. And we are hoping that there's not going to be a drastic change. And if there are additional funds that are available for whatever to extend this into, I didn't quite know what this was. It looks like a bicycle loop kind of thing.
Pump track.
Okay, okay. Okay, but we're just concerned that how this would existing facilities that we have, our amenities, the construction, closing the dog park to do something like this, less green space. I don't think we need any more concrete or macadam. And parking would have to be, it's getting a pretty bit full back there in that little parking lot. Groups come back, and it's not even summer yet. So this is another little concern. But our main concern is we'd like to protect for our local in the sense of not just Kitty Hawk, because a lot of people do use it. And of course in the summer, visitors do come, although they're not supposed to, because there's a sign, you have to have your tags. That's not even being carried out for the last several years. So anybody could come in, a dog could have a disease we're never going to know because it was vandalized. So we're just trying to protect our little thing that the communities in general enjoy. And if we have all that excess, I don't know how much money would be, and whatever excess money, could we put it to better use for the community? We all know about the people here who are suffering. And if there's anything like maybe bikes for people to get to work, I don't know what the financials are, but that's just an idea.
Okay.
And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Stanley.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone else signed up? Lynn?
No, sir.
Is anyone here tonight would like to speak in public comment about any topic? Okay, no one chose. Council, I need a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, David. Second?
Second.
Second by Lynn. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? No items removed. Ongoing business, the trails update.
So, was it meeting before last, I believe? Paul Henriquez from the Recreation Committee came and presented an option, an alternative option for a connector trail from Sandy Run Park that included a loop. And Councilwoman Walker and Mayor Pro Tem Pruitt and I and Paul met with Eric Alness, who's the Coastal Reserve Manager. And since we have to work in partnership with them, they did say they would be willing to consider the alternate proposal. And it's going to be brought up at the local advisory committee meeting, which is on May the 22nd. And this is not at the dog park. This is the Birch Lane Trail and making a loop for the trail that also connects to Sandy Run Park. So that is something that is going to be discussed and talked about by the local advisory committee. Also, this afternoon, just received word that the Fire Service Road may be completed as early as tomorrow. It's been 18 years in the making. We should have some kind of celebration.
Great.
And I also just wanted to thank all the employees and the staff. This is also Child Abuse Awareness Month, and Friday was Wear Blue Day. And we had members from council and members from every department in the town pose for a picture, and it just turned out wonderful, and evidently everybody looks really good in blue.
Except for me.
So that's all I have.
All right, so that was your comments, time manager also, right?
Pardon me?
We were looking for the trails.
Oh,
update.
sorry. Yeah, that was everything.
No, that's
Moving
good.
forward.
That's a good thing. That's good. Okay, town attorney.
Mayor, I've got nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. Charlotte.
I'm good today.
Okay, Jeff.
Yeah, I got a few things. First, I'd like to thank Jeff at 25 years of service protecting our community. I certainly appreciate it, and I know the community does. I know we're not getting 25 more, but we'll take any time we can get.
That's right.
I'd also, I'd like to just address the public comment just for a minute. We usually don't, but the Dare County owns the dog park and the skate park, and that really does not belong to the town of Kitty Hawk. They do asking for our input, and we work together, but it is primarily, and we, as this council, when we were talking, we made sure that the dog park was not going anywhere. So you can go home knowing that we don't plan on getting rid of that dog park. It's not going anywhere.
We've even seen improvement there, haven't you?
Oh, yes, and we love walking in the woods. People have been asking about connecting to the farm, to the Sandy Run, because we love us also take our dogs back there. So, yeah, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you. And we just mentioned the LLC meeting for the Coastal Reserve. That meeting will be held here at the town hall.
May 22nd.
At between 1 and 3. The meeting will take place at 1 and lasts until 3. It's open to the public. And I haven't seen the agenda, but we are kind of prepared to look into this alternate trail. And that's all I have.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Very good. Thank you, Jeff. Lynn?
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
Dave?
I just want to congratulate Jeff as well. You know, congratulations. I know you've been here a long time, and hate to see you leave, but sometimes it happens. But hopefully you'll be here when the new police department's built.
He's waiting for a window. That's what he's waiting for.
We're going to get you that window, I promise.
Might give you two.
I will personally help install it. Well, I'll watch everybody do it.
But I also forgot, welcome Laura. Thanks for
Yeah.
being part of our team. Thank you.
Yep, welcome Laura. Jeff, congratulations. Known you a long time. How did you get to be older than I am? I hadn't figured that out yet, but anyway, congratulations. Thank all the town staff, and I'd like to thank council for a good meeting tonight. We got a little ways to go, but we had an important topic to discuss earlier. Great conversation. Anything else, council? Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we go into closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11A3. So, folks, we will have to ask you to leave the room, please. Thank you for coming. We will not be coming back after the closed session.